Now at 5, if you're a Missouri resident with lead pipes in your home, we'll tell you how you can get them replaced. Plus, the hospital in Pittsburgh is under new ownership, and
both the Trump and Harris campaigns are taking a break from the trail, but are still working to get their messages out. I'm Skyler Henry in Washington, detailing the top issues on voters' minds.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Missouri American Water is working to replace lead pipes across the state, including in Joplin homes. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. This comes as the EPA requires all U.S. water companies to inventory their local service lines. The company will replace the entire service line, including customer-owned portions, free of charge if it contains lead or galvanized steel. Some Joplin residents received a letter asking them to help determine the material of their home's pipes. Missouri American Water has already been replacing water lines all across Joplin and more than 10,000 across the state. But staff hope to have an inventory of homes that still need it by October.
It gives us a chance to, I think, maybe give some customers additional peace of mind, maybe add, resale value to their home if the service line has been replaced and updated. And it's just something that we take great pride in.
Residents who believe they might have lead pipes are encouraged to reach out to Missouri American Water through their website. There you can self-report your pipes or ask an inspection and have it done free of charge. Mercy has officially taken ownership of the former Via Christi Hospital in Pittsburgh and has begun changing the signage at the hospital. The change comes after a months-long transferring process after Mercy and Ascension entered into an agreement in February of this year. The transaction was finalized on September 1st. Mercy Hospital Pittsburgh is the third Mercy Hospital in Kansas, joining Mercy Hospital Columbus and Mercy Specialty Hospital Southeast Kansas in Galena. A ribbon cutting at Mercy Hospital Pittsburgh is set for next Wednesday, September 11th. The Kitchen Collective and Collaborative in Fort Scott plans to buy equipment for their commercial kitchen thanks to a grant. Farmers will be able to rent their licensed commercial kitchen to create products out of their own produce. The idea is to bring the community more healthy, locally grown food options. The co-owner, Rachel French, says Bourbon County has a scarcity of locally grown foods, which makes this kitchen especially beneficial.
Producers can bring their items here that they've grown, and then they can turn them into value-added products that helps the shelf life of their particular product and also gets it to an audience quicker that they didn't necessarily have that connection with.
This grant was given through the Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Program to strengthen food supply chains in Kansas. Pretty nice day out there. Let's check in with meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney.
Definitely has been cooler over the last couple of days. Labor Day high of low to mid 80s and overnight lows down to the low 60s. Today we only got up to about 81, 82. Right now about 80 out in Joplin and Pittsburgh, 85 still in Chanute, 84 in Neodesha and Independence. So a little bit warmer out in the western counties and in the 70s already out in the eastern counties. So we're definitely seeing those cooler temperatures continue today and tomorrow. We've also had some overcast conditions, really high clouds, but they are starting to move on out of here. So we're going to have a mostly clear night as we get a little bit later into the evening hours. Temperatures are dropping back down through the 60s to the overnight low of low 60s, upper 50s, plus some rain chances in the forecast. I'll have those details coming up.
See you soon. Election Day is now just 8 weeks away, and in one state, North Carolina, voters can cast their ballots as early as this week. Both presidential nominees are off the trail today, perhaps preparing for their first debate a week from today, next Tuesday. But as Skyler Henry reports, both campaigns are still fighting for every vote.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar headlined a bus tour on reproductive freedom for Vice President Kamala Harris in South Florida Tuesday, just 10 miles from former President Donald Trump's home.
Women turned away from emergency rooms, forced to the brink of death before receiving the care they need. And that is what Donald Trump is so proud of.
Voters in at least 10 states, including Florida, have measures related to abortion on the ballot this fall.
There is so many impacts that are hurting people who actually want kids, too.
Last week, Trump announced he'd make fertility services like IVF free for all Americans, but didn't detail how the government would pay for the plan. Trump also confirmed he will vote to uphold Florida's abortion ban.
Nothing trumps God's laws, and God says it's murder.
The fight over reproductive rights is a major topic in this year's presidential election. The campaigns are expected to focus on that and several other top issues over the course of the next 2 months, including immigration and the economy. Recent polls show a tight race in the battleground states and nationwide. Harris will take her message to voters in New Hampshire Wednesday. On social media, Trump criticized Democrats for stripping the state of its first-in-the-nation primary and encouraged voters in the grandest state to vote for him.
It is the only book that covers my time in the White House.
Trump's new coffee table book, Save America, is also now available. The cover, the image captured following his assassination attempt in July. It's already one of Amazon's top-selling books. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
In Michigan, a judge today ruled Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name must remain on the presidential ballot in that state. The third-party candidate is now supporting Trump and trying to remove his name from battleground state ballots where the race could be close. A federal judge has rejected Donald Trump's request to intervene in his New York hush money criminal case. It was an attempt by the former president to overturn his felony conviction and delay his sentencing. The judge ruled today that Trump had not satisfied the burden of proof required for a federal court to take control of the case from the state court where it was tried. The Biden administration says the executions over the weekend of Israeli hostages by Hamas underscore the importance of reaching a hostage and ceasefire deal as quickly as possible. Thousands protested in Tel Aviv for a third straight night, demanding Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reach a deal to free the remaining hostages and end the fighting. A major sticking point in negotiations remains control of the Philadelphia corridor, the southern part of the Gaza Strip that borders Egypt. Still ahead, a more personal cruise experience.
As many cruise lines offer more and more features, some say bigger is not always better. I'm Wendy Gillette in Bora Bora, French Polynesia, with the allure of smaller cruise ships.
And next in Health Watch, we're going to learn about an experimental drug that could extend the lives of man's best friends. Topping today's Health Watch, scientists have overcome a major hurdle for producing blood stem cells. A study published in the journal Nature Biotechnology hopes the breakthrough leads to personalized treatments for children with leukemia and bone marrow failure disorders. Testing in immune-deficient mice, researchers took human blood cells and reprogrammed them into stem cells that match what's needed for translation. Helping dogs live longer, better lives. That's the aim of a new experimental drug. It's a pill that's designed to slow down the aging process so our pets can be with us at least a little bit longer. Stephanie Stahl has more.
He's just a happy-go-lucky dog.
It was love at first sight when Brent Sheldon's family first saw Riley.
He does not fail to put a smile on our face every day.
Hoping to keep him around as long as possible, the 10-and-a-half-year-old Corgi is part of a clinical trial for an experimental drug to improve and extend the lives of dogs.
I didn't even have to think about it.
That obviously is every dog owner's dream, is how can I keep my best friend alive and healthier and happy longer.
Dr. Sam Geller with the Quakertown Veterinary Clinic says he's enrolled about 50 dogs and is accepting more to test the daily pill.
So it helps with potentially preventing insulin resistance. It helps with managing fats in your body. It helps with managing lipids in the bloodstream.
The way the study is designed, half of the dogs are getting the real drug, the other half are getting a placebo, but we don't know which one Riley is getting.
The FDA wants you to show that your drug is better than a sugar pill.
In accepting the clinical trial, the FDA said there is a reasonable expectation of effectiveness.
This medication is intended to help preserve metabolic health.
Loyal's Director of Veterinary Medicine, Brennan McKenzie, says the drug works on the principle of calorie restriction that's been shown to help canine and human health, but there's no limit on what the dogs eat.
The way that this drug works is essentially to activate some of the same pathways in the body that caloric restriction activates, but in a way that is safer and more convenient, because none of us want to starve our dogs in order to make them live longer.
The study is aiming to include more than 1,000 dogs. Brent is hopeful it will keep Riley around as long as possible. Stephanie Stahl, CBS News.
Now, researchers don't yet know how long this could extend life, months, years, maybe. That's what the research is going to examine. It's a 4-year project. The nationwide study is currently enrolling larger dogs that are at least 10 years old. False positive mammograms are discouraging women from getting future breast cancer screenings. A study led by UC Davis Health looked at more than 1 million patients. 77% of women with a negative result returned for future screening, but only 61% returned after it was confirmed the mammogram was a false positive. That is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, a strike among hotel workers expands nationwide as they demand better working conditions.
And we've got a slight warm up ahead of rain chances. We'll talk about that coming up. Well, I hope everyone got to enjoy Labor Day weekend. The cooler temperatures came just in time. Taking a look outside, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. We've got some high level clouds, but overall, it's been a pretty nice day. Those clouds are due to a subtropical wave, so Texas and southern Oklahoma getting a few showers, but we are going to stay mostly dry. Dew points remain pretty low. Earlier in the day, they were a little bit lower. As we get into the overnight hours, they start to increase slightly, but we're still in that refreshing to pleasant feeling outside. Dry, we're not seeing those muggy air masses moving in, but we do have a warm up in the future. Until then, clouds start to clear out, and then our overnight lows dropping down to low 60s, upper 50s tonight. So it's definitely below average. 62 out in Joplin tonight, 59 in Iola, Fort Scott, and even Stockton, but a little bit warmer out in those southern counties, 66 in Nowata. And then our highs tomorrow is where we're starting to see that warm up into the upper 80s. So it's not a large warm up, just a slight warm up into the upper 80s by the weekend. 87 in Joplin for a high tomorrow, 85 in Pittsburgh, 83 in Yates Center, 88 in Veneta. So that's going to be the highest temperature on the forecast tomorrow, about 88, 89. Then looking ahead, we've got a ridge forming over our areas. We're seeing that slight warm up due to a high pressure dome just sitting over our area. Winds out of the north starting to shift out of the east. And then you can see a cold front, very weak cold front, but draping across the plains, moving into our area due to a very northerly low pressure system up in Canada. But as that moves in, we're seeing a few rain chances that come Thursday, overnight, and into Friday morning. Like I said, very weak cold front. We don't have a lot of forcing, so we're not going to see those strong storms firing up, but we might see a couple of scattered showers, a couple of isolated thunderstorms as this cold front passes. And then you can see winds that were out of the east now shifting out of the north for the weekend. So we see another drop in temperatures, even though we're starting to see that warm up after this cold front passes, a drop in temperatures for the next weekend. Unfortunately, we do see even farther in the forecast temperatures warming up to the 90s, but it is September, so until then we're seeing these temperatures up to upper 80s. Thursday, Friday, starting to cool down, then those cold front passes. Saturday is our coolest day, about 80 degrees, overnight low 50s, 53, 54. Sunday, only about 81, but then we start to see that gradual warm up again come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, starting to see temperatures in the 90s. Our average temperature for this time of year is mid to upper 80s, so we're seeing above average temperatures by next week. Few chances of rain in the forecast, but not a ton. We definitely want to see more rainfall than this if we're going to improve any drought conditions.
Those highs over the next few days look great, but those lows, my goodness, in the 50s?
I'm excited for it, and give my air conditioning a break overnight hours.
We could all use that, that's for sure. Lindsay, thanks. Hey, possible evacuations might take effect for a Southern California city struggling with a landslide crisis. Yeah, landslide. The power had to be shut off to more than 200 homes in Rancho Palos Verdes over the weekend. Dramatic land shifting has made it just too dangerous to power those homes. In some areas, the ground has moved nearly 4 feet in 1 month. 81-year-old Sally Reeves has been watching her home come apart for more than 6 months.
The stairway was coming away from the wall. Our bed was right here.
And this is the cracking from this landslide.
Yes.
Reeves is now living in her garage. The city council is set to meet this evening, and officials want an emergency declaration from the state. Coming up, why some cruise lines are opting for smaller ships. Topping today's Consumer Watch, hotel workers in Baltimore have joined a strike against major chains in 9 cities all across our nation. These are striking workers in Waikiki in Hawaii. 10,000 workers at chains, including Marriott and Hyatt, walked off the job. They're represented by the Unite Here union, which says it's seeking higher wages and fairer workloads for staff.
We are fighting for our rights. We all need this for not only for myself, this is for everyone.
The strikes are lasting 2 to 3 days at each hotel. Hyatt says it's disappointed the workers went on strike because the chain is still willing to negotiate. For some cruise lines, bigger is best these days, with ships boasting dozens of restaurants and accommodating thousands of passengers. But some cruise lovers are opting to downsize, drawn to less crowded boats, smaller ports, more personalized service. Wendy Gillette topped aboard a couple of them.
Kiss me.
Tom and Linda Christie, who split their time between Sun Valley, Idaho and Southern California, recently jetted to French Polynesia for a 7-night cruise on Windstar's Star Breeze, their second cruise together on the line.
We like the size of their ships. They're not huge. They're more intimate.
There's still plenty to do with daily excursions launched from a handful of islands, including diving for Tahitian black pearls at Anapa Pearl Farm in Raiatea, using a resort pass to spend the day at a hotel like Conrad Bora Bora Nui, or just lazing around on a private island.
Windstar started sailing here in French Polynesia more than 35 years ago and now offers journeys year-round.
The Star Breeze, that features some rooms with French balconies, underwent a multi-million-dollar renovation, but still carries just 312 passengers.
We get to know the crew better. They're a wonderful crew.
About a third of cruise ships hold fewer than 1,000 passengers. Overall, cruising keeps growing, forecast to increase at least 10% from 2024 to 2028. And the river cruise industry is also picking up steam, projected to grow 12%. River cruising is particularly popular in Europe. Ama Waterways offers wine cruises in Bordeaux, France. The ship Ama Dolce, which also invited us on board, docks in tiny villages to explore local wineries, making stops for the expansive views at Chateau de Prézac, the massive underground wine cellars at Chateau de la Rivière, and the new winemaking operation at Chateau Brenaire de Creux.
You go to the heart of the country, you go to the heart of the region, you go to the heart of the city, and then at the end you go to the heart of the people.
There are at most 150 guests on board, which means room to spread out and more French wine to drink. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
Before we say bon voyage, we have a final check of the forecast coming up next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, renewed calls to allow Ukraine to fire back as Russia ramps up its bombardment. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more about that lead pipe replacement program for Missouri residents. Plus, we'll learn about an after-school art program for students in Carthage. And Carl Junction Softball hosts McDonald County for its first home game of the season. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. The weather has looked pretty nice in the last several days, and we have a cool down ahead still.
We have a warm up ahead.
Oh.
Slight, very slight
Okay.
though.
I don't
Just
like
in
that.
the next couple of days.
Then let's get to the
Then we do have a cold front moving through Thursday night into Friday, and then another drop in temperatures. Unfortunately, it doesn't last either. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
I suspect that before we get to the end of the year, it'll be considerably cooler. like by January 1st.
You know what? I think you might be onto something.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we'll be right back here at 6. We'll see you then. Let's make it a great evening.